The massive space station hung in the void like a metal flower, its petals made of different alien architectures. Each section belonged to a different species, their unique designs creating a strange but beautiful sight against the stars. This was Council Station, the heart of galactic civilization. Inside the main chamber, beings from across the galaxy waited. The Krex warriors stood tall on their 6 legs, their thick armor-like skin gleaming under the lights. Their leader, General Thak, drummed his claws against the metal table. He had fought in 100 battles and crushed enemies with his bare hands. Beside him sat the Zephyrians, looking like living mist in the shape of people. They communicated without words, their thoughts flowing between them like water. Their representative, Mind Speaker Vel, watched everything through eyes that seemed to see into other dimensions. The Nexus Collective had sent 3 of their cybernetic forms, half machine, half flesh. They processed information faster than any biological brain could handle. Their bodies hummed with the sound of cooling fans and data streams. Why are we waiting for these humans? General Thak's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Their message was primitive. Simple mathematics and basic greetings. My youngest child could have sent something more advanced. Mind Speaker Vel's response came as a whisper in everyone's mind. Patience, warrior. All species deserve their moment to join the greater community. The Nexus representative, Unit Prime 7, spoke in a voice like grinding gears. Our analysis indicates humans are approximately 4,000 years behind current galactic technology standards. Their vessel approaching the station confirms this assessment. Through the chamber's large windows, they could see the human ship docking. It looked crude compared to the sleek vessels of the other species. Its metal hull was scarred and patched. No energy shields shimmered around it. No advanced weapons were visible on its surface. Look at that thing. General Thak laughed, his sound like rocks falling. It barely looked space-worthy. Are we sure they didn't steal it from someone else? The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. 3 humans walked through, and the assembled aliens leaned forward to get their first look at the newest species to seek membership in the Galactic Council. The humans were small. Even the tallest barely reached General Thak's chest. Their skin looked soft and easily damaged. They had no natural armor, no claws, no visible weapons. They moved on just 2 legs, which seemed like a poor design for balance. The lead human was a woman with dark hair pulled back simply. She wore plain blue clothes that looked more like work uniforms than diplomatic robes. Behind her walked 2 men, equally unremarkable in appearance. Honored members of the Galactic Council, the woman said, her voice clear but quiet. I am Sarah Chen, representing humanity. We come in peace and friendship, hoping to learn from your great civilizations. General Thak studied her with his 4 eyes. She showed no fear, even though he could tear her apart without effort. Most new species trembled when they first saw him. This human just stood there, calm and patient. You are smaller than expected, General Thak said, not trying to hide his disappointment. We are what we are, Sarah replied simply. We hope that will be enough. Mind Speaker Vel probed gently at the human minds, expecting to find simple thoughts like those of primitive species. Instead, she encountered something unexpected. The humans' minds were quiet, controlled. They thought in layers, with some thoughts hidden beneath others. She could not read them easily. Tell us of your world, Unit Prime 7 requested. What can humanity offer the galactic community? Sarah smiled slightly. Earth is a small world with varied climates. We have about 8 billion people living in different nations. We farm, we build, we learn. We have basic space travel, as you can see. We make tools and art and music, that's it? General Thak's laugh boomed through the chamber. Farming and tool-making? My people mastered those skills before we learned to walk upright. We are a young species, Sarah agreed. We have much to learn. The other council members exchanged glances. This was disappointing. They had hoped for something more interesting. A species with unique abilities or advanced technology. Instead, they got primitive farmers who could barely reach the stars. What is your military strength? General Thak asked. This was always his first concern. How many warriors do you have? What weapons? Sarah paused for a moment. We prefer not to discuss military matters. We come seeking peace, not conflict. All species need defense, General Thak pressed. The galaxy can be dangerous. Pirates, raiders, hostile aliens. How do you protect yourselves? We manage, Sarah said quietly. Unit Prime 7's mechanical eye focused on her. Our scans of your vessel show minimal defensive capabilities. No shield generators. No plasma cannons. No missile systems. How do you travel safely through space? Carefully, Sarah replied. The Zephyrians whispered among themselves in their mind-speak. The humans were hiding something, but their thoughts remained closed. This was unusual but not threatening. Many species kept secrets about their homeworlds. We have prepared an offer for humanity, Mind Speaker Vel announced. Given your current level of development, we believe you would benefit from protection. Several council species would be willing to serve as guardians for your people. Sarah's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Guardians? A common arrangement, General Thack explained, trying to sound kind. Stronger species help weaker ones develop safely. We provide protection and guidance. You provide whatever you can. Essentially, you would become a protected species, Unit Prime 7 added, like the Hirani farmers or the Keltist miners. Valued members of galactic society, but under our care and guidance. The two men behind Sarah shifted slightly. The movement was small, but General Thack noticed it. His warrior instincts were sharp, and something about the humans made him uneasy. They were too calm, too controlled. We appreciate the offer, Sarah said after a long moment, but we must decline. The chamber fell silent. No species had ever refused protection before. It was considered an honor, a gift from the advanced civilizations to the primitive ones. You refuse? Mindspeaker Vel's mental voice carried surprise. We prefer to stand on our own, Sarah explained. We would like to request something different. A small colony world, perhaps on the outer rim, somewhere we can build and grow without bothering anyone. The outer rim is dangerous, General Thack warned. Pirates, asteroid storms, hostile environments. You would be alone out there. We've been alone for a long time, Sarah replied. We're used to it. The council members looked at each other. This was unexpected but not problematic. If the humans wanted to struggle on their own, that was their choice. Many species made similar mistakes before accepting the wisdom of protection. Very well, Unit Prime 7 said finally. We can assign you a world in Sector 12. The Tau Ceti region has several suitable planets. Mineral-rich but undeveloped. That sounds perfect, Sarah said, smiling for the first time since arriving. As the formal proceedings continued, General Thack found himself watching the humans carefully. They asked good questions about trade routes and communication protocols. They wanted detailed star charts and mineral surveys. They seemed to know exactly what they needed. Most concerning was their complete lack of fear. Every other species that came before the council showed some nervousness, some recognition of their place in the galactic hierarchy. The humans acted like they belonged here, like they were equals rather than supplicants. When the meeting ended, Sarah bowed politely to each council member. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to being good neighbors. As the humans left, General Thack turned to his colleagues. Something feels wrong about them. They are primitive, Unit Prime 7 stated. Our analysis is clear. Then why do I feel like we just made a mistake? General Thack muttered, watching the crude human ship undock and disappear into hyperspace. Mindspeaker Vel said nothing, but her thoughts were troubled. In all her years reading alien minds, she had never encountered anything quite like the humans. They thought like predators but acted like prey. It was a contradiction that made no sense. None of them realized that humanity had just gotten exactly what they wanted. 5 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. The human colony of New Eden sat quietly on the edge of known space, exactly where they had asked to be placed. From orbit, it looked like any other frontier settlement struggling to survive on a harsh world. Captain Vex of the Krex military guided his patrol ship through the asteroid field surrounding New Eden's system. His orders were simple: conduct routine inspections of outer rim colonies and file reports on their development. It was boring work, but necessary to keep track of the galaxy's expanding borders. Beginning scan of the human settlement, his navigator announced. Population reads approximately 50,000. No major installations detected. Vex nodded as he looked down at the planet below. New Eden was mostly brown and gray, with small patches of green where the humans had managed to grow crops. A few scattered towns dotted the main continent, connected by simple roads. Nothing impressive, any military activity? Vex asked, though he didn't expect to find any. Negative, Captain. Some basic mining equipment and what appears to be farming machinery. I'm detecting minimal energy output from their settlements. They're barely using more power than a single Krex city block. Vex made notes on his datapad. The humans were developing even slower than predicted. Most species showed significant growth after 5 years under galactic guidance, but the humans had refused all help. This was the result. "Take us down for a closer look," Vex ordered. "Let's see how our independent friends are managing." The patrol ship landed on a flat area outside the main human town. A small group of humans approached, led by a tall man with gray hair and work clothes. He walked with the careful steps of someone used to physical labor. "Welcome to New Eden," the man said, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "I'm Tom Bradley, Colony Administrator. How can we help you?" Vex towered over the human, his 6 legs and armored skin making him look like a walking tank. But the human showed no fear, just polite interest. That was something Vex had noticed about humans during previous visits. They never seemed afraid of anything. "Routine inspection," Vex explained, shaking the offered hand carefully to avoid crushing it. "The Council likes to check on developing colonies. Make sure everyone has what they need." "We're doing fine," Tom replied. "Would you like a tour? We're proud of what we've built here." As they walked through the settlement, Vex saw exactly what he expected. Simple buildings made from local materials, humans working in fields and small workshops, children playing in dusty streets. It all looked very primitive compared to advanced galactic civilizations. "Your population seems stable," Vex observed, "but your technology level hasn't improved much since your arrival." Tom shrugged. "We're focused on the basics right now. Food, shelter, building a sustainable community. The fancy stuff can wait." They passed a mining operation where humans were pulling ore from deep shafts. The equipment looked old and inefficient to Vex's eyes. A single Crex mining rig could extract more material in one day than these humans produced in a month. "Are you finding useful minerals?" Vex asked. "Enough for our needs," Tom answered. "Iron, copper, some rare metals. Nothing special, but it keeps us busy." What Vex couldn't see were the true depths of the mining operation. His scans showed tunnels going down about 100 meters, which was normal for a colony this size. He didn't detect the additional shafts that went much deeper, their entrances hidden by clever acoustic and thermal dampening. Deep below the surface, where Vex's instruments couldn't reach, New Eden hummed with constant activity. Massive industrial complexes operated around the clock, their noise masked by sophisticated sound absorption technology. Humans worked in 3 shifts, maintaining production levels that would have impressed even the Nexus Collective. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in one of the deepest laboratories, studying the latest piece of alien technology their traders had acquired. On the surface, the humans seemed to trade only basic materials for simple supplies. In reality, every transaction was carefully planned to acquire specific components and information. "Have you finished the analysis of the Zephyrian power core?" Elena asked her assistant. "Almost done," Dr. Kim replied, looking up from her workstation. "Their energy conversion efficiency is impressive, but we can improve it by at least 30% with some modifications to the quantum matrix." Elena nodded. This was how humanity operated now. Every piece of alien technology that came through their trading posts was copied, analyzed, and improved upon. They were building a vast database of galactic knowledge while appearing to remain primitive farmers and miners. "What about the Crex weapons we examined last month?" Elena asked. "Brute force design but effective," Dr. Kim answered. "We've already developed 3 different countermeasures. Their armor-piercing rounds won't penetrate our new defensive systems." Back on the surface, Vex was completing his inspection. The humans had shown him their crops, their workshops, and their simple manufacturing facilities. Everything looked exactly as primitive as his instruments indicated. "You seem to be managing well on your own," Vex admitted. "Though I notice you haven't built any defensive installations." "The outer rim can be dangerous," Tom smiled. "We keep a low profile. Don't attract attention. Haven't had any trouble so far." "What about pirates or raiders? They sometimes attack isolated colonies." "We'd handle it if it happened," Tom said simply. Vex studied the human's face. There was something in his expression, a quiet confidence that seemed out of place for someone running a struggling frontier colony, but Vex couldn't put his finger on what bothered him about it. "Well, you know how to contact the Council if you need help," Vex said finally. "We appreciate that," Tom replied, "but we prefer to solve our own problems." As Vex's ship lifted off from New Eden, he began composing his report. "Human colony continues development at expected pace. Population stable at 50,000. No military installations detected. Technology level remains primitive. Threat level negligible. He paused before adding the final line. Something nagged at him about the humans, but he couldn't identify what. They were exactly what they appeared to be. Simple farmers and miners trying to make a life on a frontier world. Yet something felt wrong. Below the surface of New Eden, shift changes were occurring in the hidden industrial complexes. Thousands of workers moved through corridors that official scans couldn't detect. Production schedules were updated, efficiency reports were filed, and improvement projects were approved. In the deepest command center, Administrator Chen, who the galaxy knew as the simple colony leader Tom Bradley, reviewed the weekly intelligence reports. Ships that passed through human space were carefully observed and analyzed. Trade routes were mapped. Military movements were tracked and recorded. Any updates from our other colonies? Chen asked his intelligence officer. 17 settlements now operational, came the reply. All maintaining cover as agricultural or mining operations. Industrial capacity is ahead of schedule across the board. Chen nodded. Humanity had not established just one colony world. They had quietly claimed dozens of systems, each appearing to be a small, struggling settlement. Together, they represented the largest industrial and military buildup in galactic history. What about our deep space monitoring stations? Chen asked, all operational and undetected. We're tracking every major fleet movement in 3 sectors. The Kreks are planning military exercises near the galactic core. The Nexus Collective is testing new cybernetic interfaces. The Zephyrians are exploring dimensional research. Chen studied the reports carefully. Knowledge was power, and humanity was gathering knowledge at an unprecedented rate. Every day, they learned more about their galactic neighbors while revealing nothing about themselves. Any signs of external threats? Chen asked. Long-range sensors have detected some unusual energy signatures from beyond the galactic rim, his officer reported. Could be natural phenomena, but we're keeping watch. Chen made a note to increase monitoring of the outer regions. Humanity had learned from Earth's history that threats often came from unexpected directions. They would be ready for anything. In his ship heading back toward civilized space, Captain Vex finished his report and filed it with the Council. As far as the galaxy was concerned, the humans remained a minor, primitive species barely worth noticing. None of them suspected that humanity was preparing for something the galaxy had never seen before. The emergency alert screamed through Council Station like the cry of a dying animal. Admiral Korath of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet materialized in the command center, her misty form crackling with fear and urgency. Report, she demanded, her mental voice cutting through the chaos. Commander Thek, a massive Kreks officer, turned from the tactical display. His 4 eyes were wide with something that looked like terror. Long-range sensors have detected them, Admiral. The Devourers have arrived in our galaxy. The name sent ice through every being in the command center. The Devourers were legend, nightmare, the thing that older species whispered about in their darkest stories. They had consumed 17 galaxies, leaving nothing but empty space and dead stars in their wake. How many? Admiral Korath asked, though she dreaded the answer. First wave appears to be approximately 50,000 vessels, Commander Thek replied. Biomechanical design, just like the old reports described. They're moving through the outer rim sectors, consuming everything in their path. The tactical display showed red dots advancing steadily toward the galactic core. Each dot represented a ship larger than a space station, filled with creatures that existed only to devour and grow stronger. What's their current target? Admiral Korath asked. They're heading through Sector 12, Commander Thek said, consulting his scanner. That puts several colonies directly in their path, including... He paused, checking his files. The human settlement of New Eden. Admiral Korath felt a pang of regret. The humans had been stubborn about accepting protection, but they didn't deserve what was coming. No species did. How long until they reach New Eden? She asked. At current speed, approximately 18 hours, Commander Thek replied. We could try to evacuate them, but our fastest ships couldn't reach them in time, Admiral Korath finished. She had studied the tactical situation already. New Eden was simply too far away and too isolated. Should we send a warning message? Commander Thek asked. Admiral Korath considered it. A warning would give the humans a few hours to prepare, though preparation would be meaningless against the Devourers. Still, every species deserved to face their end with dignity. Send the message, she ordered. Tell them what's coming. It's the least we can do. The message reached New Eden 12 hours before the Devourers were expected to arrive. Sarah Chen, now serving as the colony's official leader, received it in her simple office above the town's main supply depot. "Acknowledged, Council Station," she replied calmly. "Thank you for the warning." Commander Thek, monitoring the communication, was surprised by her response. Most species would be screaming for help or begging for rescue. The human sounded like she was discussing the weather. "Admiral," he said to Korath, "the human response is unusual." "How so?" "No panic. No request for assistance. They just acknowledged the message and signed off." Admiral Korath frowned. Even the bravest species showed some emotion when facing the Devourers. The human's calm was either admirable courage or complete ignorance of their situation. "Keep monitoring the situation," she ordered, "and begin preparing our main battle fleet. When the Devourers finish with the Outer Rim, they'll come for us." Across the galaxy, every major military force was mobilizing. The Kreks assembled their warrior fleets, each ship bristling with weapons designed for close combat. The Nexus Collective began calculating battle probabilities and optimizing their cybernetic warforms. The Zephyrians prepared their reality-bending technologies and dimensional weapons, none of them expected to win. The best they could hope for was to slow the Devourers down, maybe buy time for some civilians to escape to other galaxies. The combined might of galactic civilization had never faced anything like this before. In the New Eden system, the first Devourer scouts arrived exactly on schedule. 3 massive bioships, each the size of a small moon, dropped out of hyperspace and began scanning the human colony world. What they found puzzled them. The planet showed signs of a small settlement, just as their intelligence indicated. About 50,000 organic beings, primitive technology, minimal defenses. It should have been an easy meal to start their feast. The lead Devourer ship, a writhing mass of organic metal and hungry flesh, opened communications with its fleet commanders. In a voice like grinding bones, it reported, "Target confirmed. Beginning consumption sequence." But as the 3 scout ships moved toward New Eden, something unexpected happened. Space around them suddenly filled with weapons fire. Not the crude missiles or energy beams they expected from a primitive colony, but precisely targeted bursts that struck their ships with devastating accuracy. The weapons seemed to come from empty space itself, as if the void had grown teeth. The lead Devourer ship's organic hull began dissolving under the assault. Its death scream echoed across space as it broke apart, its biomechanical systems failing catastrophically. The second ship tried to retreat, but found itself caught in a gravitational anomaly that shouldn't have existed. It was crushed like an insect in an invisible fist. The third ship managed to send one final message before it too was destroyed. Impossible resistance encountered. Unknown weapons. Unknown technology. Request immediate. The message cut off as the ship's communication organs were vaporized by weapons that existed in dimensions the Devourers couldn't even perceive. Silence fell over the New Eden system. At Council Station, the monitoring team stared at their instruments in disbelief. "Sir," a young Nexus technician said, his voice shaking, "we've lost contact with the Devourer advance force." Commander Thek turned from his tactical display. "Lost contact? What do you mean?" "The 3 scout ships that entered the New Eden system," the technician explained. "They stopped transmitting approximately 4 minutes ago. Their biosignatures have disappeared from our sensors." "Equipment malfunction?" Commander Thek suggested hopefully. "Negative, sir. We're detecting debris patterns consistent with ship destruction. All 3 vessels appear to have been eliminated." The command center fell silent. Admiral Korath materialized beside the tactical display, her misty form flickering with confusion. "That's impossible," she said. "The Devourers have never been stopped by anything. They consumed the entire hegemony of worlds, and that was the most advanced military force in known history." "Could it have been a trap?" Commander Thek asked. "Some kind of automated defense system left behind by an ancient civilization?" Before anyone could answer, a new communication signal came through. It was from New Eden, transmitted on standard galactic frequencies. Sarah Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She looked exactly the same as she had during first contact, calm, composed, unremarkable. She sat in what appeared to be the same simple office they had seen before. "Council Station. This is Administrator Chen of New Eden Colony. she said in her quiet voice. The Devourer advance force has been neutralized. New Eden stands ready to assist in the defense of the galaxy. The command center erupted in confusion. Voices rose in a dozen languages as beings tried to process what they had just heard. A primitive human colony had somehow destroyed 3 Devourer ships. It made no sense. Administrator Chen, Admiral Korath said, struggling to keep her mental voice steady. Please clarify your last transmission. Are you saying the Devourer ships have been destroyed? Confirmed, Sarah replied. 3 biomechanical vessels, each approximately 8 kilometers in length. They have been eliminated with no casualties on our side. How? Commander Thek demanded. Your colony has no military installations. Our scans show only basic technology, Sarah smiled slightly. And for the first time since humanity had joined the galactic community, her expression looked dangerous. Your scans, she said gently, show exactly what we wanted them to show. The implications of her words hit the command center like a physical blow. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities. For 5 years they had appeared primitive while building. What are you? Admiral Korath whispered. We are what we've always been, Sarah replied. We are human. The question now is whether the galaxy is ready to see what that actually means. Behind her, through the office window, something vast moved across the sky. For just a moment, the assembled aliens caught a glimpse of a shape that defied their understanding. Smooth, angular, clearly artificial, and impossibly large. Then the transmission ended, leaving the galactic leadership staring at a blank screen and wondering what they had gotten themselves into. In the depths of space, the main Devourer fleet detected the loss of their scouts. Ancient intelligences that had consumed countless civilizations began to pay attention to the small system that had somehow hurt them. They had no idea what was waiting for them there. The main Devourer fleet arrived at New Eden 3 days later like a plague of locusts made of metal and hunger. 200 massive bioships dropped out of hyperspace, each one a living nightmare designed to consume entire worlds. Their hulls pulsed with organic rhythms, and their weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. At the center of the fleet was the Brood Mother, a ship so large it had its own gravitational field. Ancient beyond measure, it had personally devoured the homeworlds of 47 different species. Its consciousness reached out across space, tasting the fear it expected to find. Instead, it found something it had never encountered before: complete calm. Admiral Zhang stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Endurance, watching the Devourer fleet form their attack formation. 5 years ago, the galaxy had known him as a simple agricultural coordinator. Today, he commanded the most powerful warship ever built. Fleet status report, he said quietly. All vessels report ready for combat, his tactical officer replied. Orbital defense platforms are online. Ground installations are at full power. Fighter squadrons are standing by for launch. Through the bridge windows, Admiral Zhang could see space around New Eden coming alive. What had appeared to be empty void now revealed its true nature. Massive defense platforms uncloaked, their surfaces bristling with weapons that bent the laws of physics. Ships that made the galaxy's mightiest dreadnoughts look like toys emerged from hidden bases in asteroid fields and gas-giant atmospheres. Open a channel to the Galactic Council, Admiral Zhang ordered, at Council Station. The emergency command center had been operating without sleep for 3 days. Every available ship from every member species was racing toward New Eden, though all of them knew they would arrive too late to matter. When Admiral Zhang's face appeared on their screens, it took them a moment to recognize him. The man they had known as a farmer now wore the uniform of a military officer, and his eyes held the cold calculation of someone who had spent a lifetime preparing for war. Galactic Council, he said. This is Admiral Zhang of the Terran Defense Force. We are about to engage the Devourer fleet. We recommend you observe and learn, Admiral Zhang, Commander Thek said, his voice confused. But I was a farmer, Zhang agreed. I grew food crops on 7 different worlds. I also commanded the Earth Defense Fleet during the Siege of Luna, the Mars Rebellion, and the Asteroid Wars. Humans are good at being many things. Before anyone could respond, the battle began. The Devourers attacked with the confidence of a species that had never known defeat. Their bioships launched swarms of fighter organisms, each one capable of eating through a battleship's hull. Plasma cannons that could melt continents opened fire at the human fleet. Then the humans responded with weapons the galaxy had never imagined. Space around New Eden, warped and twisted as human ships activated dimensional drives that let them move through reality itself. They appeared behind Devourer vessels, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before return fire could reach them. The orbital defense platforms revealed themselves to be more than mere weapons. They were massive industrial complexes that manufactured ammunition in real time, churning out munitions designed specifically to counter Devourer biology. Missiles that rewrote genetic code at the molecular level, energy beams that disrupted organic neural networks, gravitational weapons that compressed bioships into singularities. Impossible, whispered a Nexus observer watching the battle from Council Station. Their technology is centuries ahead of anything we've developed. Admiral Zhang's voice cut through their amazement. This is what we are, Galactic Council. This is what we've always been. We are a species that learned to fight before we learned to think. We perfected warfare before we invented writing. We have been killing each other for 10,000 years and we got very, very good at it. A Devourer bioship, massive as a city, tried to ram one of the human dreadnoughts. The human vessel didn't try to dodge. Instead, it opened like a flower, revealing internal structures that defied geometry. The Devourer ship passed through the space where the human vessel had been, only to find itself surrounded by the dreadnought's superstructure. The bioship was trapped inside a three-dimensional maze that existed in 4 dimensions. We learned, Admiral Zhang continued, that the most dangerous predator is not the one that roars the loudest. It's the one that hunts in silence. The brood mother, growing concerned for the first time in millennia, launched its ultimate weapon, a billion-strong swarm of nanobiological organisms designed to consume anything they touched. The cloud of microscopic devourers spread across space like a gray tide. The humans were ready for this too. Fighter craft smaller than anything in the galactic database swarmed out from hidden bays. Each one was piloted by a human child, their young reflexes enhanced by technology that linked their nervous systems directly to their ships. They moved through space like dancers, weaving between the nanoswarm and deploying countermeasures that turned the Devourer's own weapons against them. Children? Admiral Korath gasped, watching 12-year-old pilots execute maneuvers that would challenge veteran aces. Every human child learns to fly before they learn to walk, Admiral Zhang explained. We have no civilians in the way you understand the term. We are all soldiers. We just don't always look like it. The battle raged for hours, but it was never really in doubt. The Devourers had faced many advanced civilizations, but they had never encountered anything like humanity. Every tactical innovation they deployed was countered within minutes. Every biological adaptation they attempted was neutralized by weapons specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses. The humans didn't just fight the Devourers. They studied them while destroying them, analyzing their technology and biology even as they tore their ships apart. Human scientists broadcast real-time updates to the fleet, sharing discoveries about Devourer weak points and tactical patterns. How long have you been preparing for this? Commander Thek asked in amazement. About 1,000 years, Admiral Zhang replied. We detected signs of the Devourers when we first developed long-range sensors. We've been tracking their movements across the galaxy for centuries, waiting for them to arrive. The broodmother, seeing its fleet being systematically dismantled, tried to retreat. It found itself trapped by gravity fields that hadn't existed moments before. Human engineering ships had been secretly constructing a massive spatial distortion around the battlefield, creating a cage that nothing could escape. You see, Admiral Zhang said, watching the ancient Devourer ship struggle helplessly against forces it couldn't understand, we learned something important from our history. The greatest victories are won before the enemy knows the war has started. The final Devourer ship died in fire and vacuum, its biomechanical systems shutting down as human weapons rewrote its genetic code from the inside out. The ancient intelligence that had consumed galaxies experienced something it had never felt before: fear. Then nothing. Silence fell over the battlefield. 200 Devourer ships had been reduced to drifting debris and empty space. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed. Admiral Zhang turned back to the camera addressing the Galactic Council. The Devourer advance force has been eliminated. Our deep space sensors indicate the main fleet is approximately 6 months away. We will be ready for them. Ready how? Admiral Korath asked, her mental voice small and uncertain. We have 47 colony worlds, Admiral Zhang said simply. Each one is fortified like New Eden, Each one has been preparing for this day. When the Devourers arrive in force, they will find we have had a very long time to get ready. Commander Thek stared at the tactical display showing the battlefield. The debris of the Devourer fleet was already being collected by human salvage ships, probably to be analyzed and reverse-engineered. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. Admiral Zhang smiled, and for the first time since the battle began, he looked like the simple farmer they had once known. "Nothing," he said. "We told you from the beginning that we preferred to handle our own problems." "We meant it. But surely you'll accept our help now," Admiral Korath pressed. "The main Devourer fleet will be massive. Even with your technology, we'll be dealt with," Admiral Zhang finished. "We appreciate the offer, but we've got this handled. We've been looking forward to this fight for a long time." The transmission ended, leaving the galactic leadership staring at displays showing a human fleet that could apparently conquer the entire galaxy if it chose to. In his private chambers, General Thak of the Krex reviewed the battle recordings for the 100th time. Every tactical manual he had ever studied was now obsolete. The humans had just rewritten the rules of warfare. "What have we done?" he whispered to himself. He was beginning to understand that the galaxy had just learned why humanity preferred to stay quiet. 6 months later, the main Devourer fleet arrived to find nothing but empty space and human ships waiting in perfect formation. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, the threat that had consumed 17 galaxies was nothing but cosmic dust and fading energy signatures. Humanity had not just defeated the Devourers, they had completely erased them from existence. Now, in the main council chamber of Council Station, representatives from every galactic civilization sat in uncomfortable silence. At the center of the room, Admiral Sarah Chen stood where she had 5 years ago as a simple diplomat. She wore the same plain blue uniform, but everything else had changed. "The Devourer threat has been eliminated," she announced quietly. "All 73 million vessels of their main fleet have been destroyed. Our deep space sensors detect no remaining Devourer forces in this galaxy, or any adjacent ones." The numbers were staggering. 73 million ships, each one capable of destroying entire star systems, wiped out by a species the galaxy had considered primitive farmers. General Thak, older now and bearing scars from battles he had never thought possible, spoke first. "How many ships did you lose?" 47, Admiral Chen replied. 47,000? Mindspeaker Vel asked, her mental voice hopeful. 47 ships total, Admiral Chen clarified. Most of those were older vessels we had scheduled for decommissioning anyway. The silence that followed was deafening. The greatest military threat in galactic history had been stopped with losses that wouldn't register as a rounding error in most military budgets. "What are your intentions now?" Unit Prime 7 asked, its mechanical voice carefully neutral. "With the Devourers gone, what does humanity plan to do?" Admiral Chen smiled the same gentle smile she had worn during first contact. "We plan to go home," she said. "Return to our farms and workshops. Continue living quietly on our small worlds. The same thing we've always wanted to do." "You're not going to conquer us?" General Thak asked, and there was real fear in his voice. "Why would we do that?" Admiral Chen replied, looking genuinely puzzled. "We told you from the beginning that we prefer to handle our own problems. We never said anything about wanting to handle yours." Commander Thek leaned forward. "But you could. Your military capabilities exceed the combined strength of the entire galactic community. You could rule the galaxy if you wanted to." "Could and would are different things," Admiral Chen said patiently. "Yes, we probably could conquer the galaxy. We have no interest in doing so. Conquest is expensive, time-consuming, and ultimately pointless. We have everything we need on our own worlds." Mindspeaker Vel probed carefully at the human's thoughts, still finding the same controlled, layered consciousness that had puzzled her years ago. "You're not lying," she said, surprise coloring her mental voice. "You genuinely have no desire to rule over other species." "Of course not," Admiral Chen replied. "We learned a long time ago that ruling others is more trouble than it's worth. Every species should be free to make its own choices, even if we think those choices are stupid." The Zephyrian representative flickered with confusion. "But you deceived us. For 5 years you pretended to be primitive when you were actually the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." "We never lied to you," Admiral Chen corrected. "We told you we were farmers and builders, we are. We told you we preferred to solve our own problems, we do. We told you we wanted to live quietly on our own worlds. We still do." You just didn't mention that you were also preparing for Galactic War, General Thak said dryly. You didn't ask, Admiral Chen replied with a shrug. And we've learned that volunteering information about our military capabilities tends to make other species nervous. Unit Prime 7's mechanical eye focused on her. You've done this before. With other species, it wasn't a question. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. Earth has a long history of contact with aggressive alien species. Most of them assumed we were easy prey because we looked weak and acted peaceful. They learned differently eventually. What happened to them? Mindspeaker Vel asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. They found other things to do with their time, Admiral Chen said simply. Amazing how diplomatic most species become once they understand the alternatives. The council members exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that humanity's peaceful demeanor was not weakness but choice. The most terrifying thing about humans wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their restraint. So what happens now? Commander Thek asked. Do we just pretend the last few months never happened? Why would we do that? Admiral Chen asked. The galaxy knows what humanity is capable of now. That's actually a good thing. It means we can be more honest with each other. More honest how? General Thak demanded. Admiral Chen's expression became serious for the first time since the meeting began. We are what happens when a predator species develops empathy, she said slowly. We are capable of extraordinary violence and extraordinary restraint. We have shown you both. She gestured to the display screens showing footage from the Devourer battles. When the galaxy was threatened, we fought. Now that the threat is gone, we choose peace. But understand this, it is a choice. It will always be a choice. The implications of her words settled over the chamber like a cold wind. Humanity wasn't offering friendship from a position of weakness. They were offering partnership from a position of absolute strength. The question, Admiral Chen continued, is what kind of galaxy we build together. We can continue as we have, trading partners, neighbors, each species managing its own affairs, or some of you might prefer different arrangements. Her tone remained pleasant, but there was steel underneath it. The message was clear. Cooperation was preferred, but humanity would accept other choices too. And everyone in the room now knew how those other choices would end. Mindspeaker Vel spoke for all of them. We choose cooperation. Admiral Chen smiled, and the warmth in her expression was genuine. Excellent. We were hoping you'd say that. Over the following months, the galaxy slowly adjusted to its new reality. Trade continued, diplomatic relations resumed, and life went on much as it had before. But everything was different now. The human colonies returned to their quiet farming and mining operations. Visiting aliens found the same simple settlements they had always seen, but now they looked more carefully. They noticed the perfect discipline of the workers, the way even the children moved with military precision, the fact that every tool could serve as a weapon in trained hands. General Thak visited New Eden a year after the Devourer War. Tom Bradley, still serving as colony administrator, gave him the same tour he had received years earlier. The buildings were the same, the fields looked identical, even the mining operations appeared unchanged. But Thak's military eye now caught details he had missed before. The positioning of structures that could serve as defensive strongpoints, the subtle modifications to farming equipment that would let it function as manufacturing tools, the way every colonist they met assessed him as a potential threat before relaxing into friendliness. How long have you been preparing for war? Thak asked as they walked through the settlement. Always, Tom replied simply. It's what we do. We prepare for every possibility, hope for the best, and plan for the worst. Doesn't that make for a difficult life? Thak asked, always being ready to fight? Tom considered the question. Fighting is terrible, he said finally. But losing is worse. We learned that lesson a long time ago. They stopped at an overlook where they could see the entire colony spread out below them. Children played in the streets while adults worked in shops and fields. It looked peaceful, normal, even boring. This is really all you want? Thak asked. Just to be left alone to farm and build and raise your children? It's everything we want, Tom confirmed. We never asked to be warriors. We just got very good at it because the alternative was extinction. Thak nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand humanity's greatest strength. They didn't fight because they loved war. They fought because they loved peace and were willing to do anything to protect it. As his ship lifted off from New Eden, Thak reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. The old balance of power was gone, replaced by something unprecedented. A species with the power to rule everything that wanted nothing more than to be left alone. It was, he thought, probably the best possible outcome for everyone involved. In her office on New Eden, Admiral Chen finished her daily reports and looked out at the sunset, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Children were coming home from school. Families were gathering for dinner, and the night shift was preparing to take over the vital but hidden work that kept humanity safe. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new choices between violence and restraint. But tonight the galaxy was at peace, and humanity had found its place in it. They remained what they had always been, farmers and builders who just happened to be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And that, Admiral Chen thought as she watched the stars appear in the darkening sky, was exactly how they liked it.